Excellennial here with another story-based Excel tutorial, and today we're going to be talking about Luke the Woodworker. Now Luke is collecting his financial documents for the end of the month income evaluation. He has an Excel workbook showing what he billed based on the order receipts, and another workbook showing what the customers were actually billed. Now the issue is that he often gives out discounts to certain customers, and this only shows on the customer billing documents as opposed to his internal billing documents. This is an issue because he now has discrepancies in each of his documented billing forms. He needs to find these discrepancies and then research where the payments don't match so he can have an accurate look at his income for the month. Let's see if we can help him find those discrepancies and spend a little less time researching each individual order. So as you can see here, we have the two documents that Luke has. The one over here on this side, billed per receipts, is his internal document where he has what was billed according to the orders, and that has the matching transaction number. Now on this side over here, we have what was actually billed to the customer. Now that's what's on the customer's receipt. So again, the transaction number still matches, but the billing number doesn't match for every single one of these transactions. Now that is exactly what Luke needs to do the research on. His concern is that he doesn't want to go through every single one of these individually, matching the transaction number and trying to verify every single row by themselves. So he doesn't want to spend a bunch of time doing that and thinks that if we can find a formula or some kind of function to pull over a confirmation piece of data saying this row or this transaction number does match or doesn't match, that could save a ton of time. So there's a couple ways to do this. I'm going to start with how to do this if you have the two separate documents using the if function, and then I'm going to show really quick how to bring the data together onto one spreadsheet and then using the if function that way. I always prefer to have my data on one document just because it's easier to verify the data. So the first way here is going to be with the two separate documents, and we're still going to use the if function. So here in cell C2, I'm going to type the equal symbol, which is how we start all of our functions or formulas, and we are using the if function. So I just type in equal symbol if. I'm going to click if. Now we have three things that we should be putting in here. The value if true and value if false have those extra brackets on there, so those are optional add-ons, but very, very helpful to moving the data around. So the logical test that we're doing here is we need to know if the data in this column B, billed per receipt, based on the row, if that matches what is in column B on the actual billed to customer. So what we're going to type here is just kind of a breakdown of that. So the logical test is going to be if cell B2, which is going to be the first row in column B, and that's going to verify if this transaction number, the row associated with the transaction number, and that pricing matches something inside of column B on this other document. So here we tell it now the equal symbol again. So if cell B2 is equal to something here in column B in this other document, then we'll close that out. If it's equal, now if that is true, if B2 matches data in column B, then we're going to have the result be quote match quote. Now that means it's literally going to say the text match, the word match. That's why we use the quotes there. Now that's the if it's true. We're going to add another comma, and you see that this value if false just highlighted. Now quote not matching. So that's the quote not matching quote. That's going to tell it to display that text if the data in cell B2 does not match the data on the other spreadsheet. So that's all we need to add. It's just those three pieces, the logical test, the value if true, and the value if false. So those are all the main pieces we need here. And I'll press enter. And now it's telling us here, you can see row 2 on this one document and row 2 on the second document. The transaction number does match, and you can see, just verifying the data here real quick, that $45.36 does match what was actually billed to the customer according to cell B2. Now, I do want to clarify that the reason why I selected first B2 on our current document, but then I selected the entire column on the other document, is that if we only select the cell B2 on the actually billed to customer document, it doesn't update. We would still have to add the formula to every single cell in column C. So that's not actually going to save us any time. Whereas now, since I selected all of column B, we can double click this little square in the corner and it will update the formula to say B3 and check the column B. Now again, this is one of the reasons why I like to have all of my data in one spreadsheet, because it's a little bit easier to put together your functions and have them make sense. Whereas I would definitely be verifying my data a little bit more when I'm using multiple spreadsheets, just to make absolutely sure you're looking at the correct data and that formulas or functions were programmed correctly, and just doing a little bit of extra validation. It still saves time for someone like Luke who's trying to go through this a lot faster. It's still going to save time. You just want to be absolutely sure your data is correct, especially in terms of something like finances. So now you can see row 2 on the first document does match row 2 on the second document. Same here, $35.94 matches $35.94. Now you can see here from row 4 to 6 on these two documents, you can see here that this doesn't match at all. The pricing here is $48.64. This is $37.99. So this is accurate, saying what is matching and what's not matching. Again, this is the data that I would want to verify to make absolutely sure that the function is working correctly. Now, again, I'm going to show you how to break down all of this if you move it over to one document. So this is just what it would look like if you left it all on the two separate documents. But we have to remember that if we close this document out, this document here is pulling data still from the other document. You can look up here if you select cell C2, you can see up here in the formula bar, this function is still displaying, which means that if we close out this other document, all of the data in column C disappears. It'll say the pound symbol and then it'll say value because it's missing information that it's trying to look for. So what we're going to do is actually copy once we do a little work scanning through and verifying our data. Now we're going to select all of column C, select copy, and then we will paste special and select values and OK. Now the whole reason why we do that is now if we select cell C2, up here in the formula bar, you don't see any functions or formulas. And now that means if we close out this other document, all of that data won't disappear. So I'm actually going to update this here real quick. Billing match with two documents. So what we're going to do next is going to insert a column here. Now this is going to be the actually billed to customer on our main document. What we're going to do is actually pull over the data. I'll leave a link in the description on how to do this. I'm going to use a VLOOKUP. I have a completely different tutorial breaking that whole step down, but what I'm going to do is a VLOOKUP, which will pull everything that was actually billed to the customer. It's going to take that data, move it over to our working document, and it's going to match that information based on the transaction number. So we're going to know that it's accurate data because it's matching based on the transaction number. So I'll do equal VLOOKUP. Like I said, I'm going to go through this a little bit faster. I will have a link in the description to another process that I have showing how to do this. Now just here real quick, before I go on, I did just add in the VLOOKUP. You can see it's still in the top bar here. Just glancing at it real quick, looking at what is in the column C here and then column B on the old document, everything appears to match up. And again, now that I've moved over the data with the VLOOKUP, I'm going to copy, then I'm going to paste special, values, and OK. And now I'm going to close out this document. And since I did the paste with values already, my data is not going to disappear. Now we have a document that has the transaction number, the billed per receipt according to the internal documentation that Luke has, the actually billed to customer according to the receipt that the customers have, the billing match according to a if function used with two documents. Now I'm just going to insert one more column here, and this is going to be our billing match with one document. Like I said, I always prefer to have my data in one document, even if it's multiple sheets in the one document. I think it's much better to have one workbook. It's a lot easier to keep track of your data. Again, we're going to use the if function, but this time it's going to be a little bit easier to put this together. The logical test is actually going to be if B2 equal symbol C2, comma, and that closes out our logical test. We're saying if these two cells match. Now, if they do match, if that statement's true, then it will say match. And again, we're putting the quotation marks because that's the text that we want it to say. It's not an additional formula or anything. Now again, the comma, and now if it is false, if they are not equal, then not matching quote. don't. We'll press enter. And now if our data from the billing match 2 documents is accurate, everything will match exactly what's going to be in column D. So I'll double click this little square here, fill in everything, and again, copy, and then paste with values, special values, okay. Now all of our formula's gone up here. Now this is just gonna tell us real quick what matches and what doesn't match. So I'm gonna turn on a filter. It'll be a lot easier to look through the data that we have this way. And I'll just filter for match first. Now all of these should also say match. Not match is not even an option here, so that's good. That means that our data is accurate. We can look through here and just check really quick. All of these do appear to be matching, which shows that our function did work correctly using the if function in the way that we programmed it. All right, now let's see what the not matching ones are, because that's ultimately what Luke needs to do research on, what didn't match, and that's going to show him where there are discrepancies and where he maybe didn't make as much money as he thought at the end of the month. So again, we'll check column E. There are no matching ones, so our formula from the billing match with the 2 documents was accurate. And again, just it's easier to look at your data when it's on 1 document. It's not that it's inaccurate when it's on 2. It's easier to verify that your document has accurate information when it's on 1 document. That's a better way to put it. So now we can see here that these are all not matching, and just to scan through some of them, you can see all of these are, some of them are kind of close. You can see there were small discounts, but all of these discounts that Luke gave his customers are now going to add up to quite a bit of money that he didn't make by the end of the month. So these are all things that he needs to look into and take into consideration. But now he doesn't have to waste his time going through all of the ones that match already, because he's looked up with the if function if they matched. He finds that they did match, so he doesn't have to spend time looking at an additional 41. Oh my goodness, see? It's 41 whole rows that he doesn't have to go through. So now that leaves him with these 21 to research. All right, so Luke is pretty happy to find out he's not going to have to spend a bunch of extra time looking through 41 whole rows of data that already match customer receipts according to his order receipts. Now he only has to look into 21 transactions that didn't quite match up. If you have any questions about this process, please leave a comment in the section below. And until next time, have fun excelling.